If you want to get some gold, you better bleed some Cardinal.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you like to listen to your podcast, we are free. I appreciate your support. If you haven't done it yet, it's really simple. If you want to become a subscriber, just click that subscriber button if you're watching on YouTube. If you like the episode, hit that thumbs up. Both will mean a whole heck of a lot to the show. And to all of you who have already become subscribers, thank you so very, very, very much. This episode of Locked On USC is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. All right, who wants a quick practice report that happened on Thursday? Saturday, the team will be going through, they'll be having a scrimmage, and then a week from this coming Saturday, the spring game, April 15th at the Coliseum. Tickets are free. Get out there. Support your team. All right, so as you're aware, if you're not aware, when Lincoln Riley took over the program, he instituted it's called the Gold Plate program. It's a way of kind of earning your stripes, so to speak. And if you want to get that Trojan Gold Plate logo on your helmet, you got to earn it. And that list is starting to shape up. I saw that Rajon Davis got his presented to him. I believe this happened earlier this week. It didn't happen on Thursday. But he got his gold plate, and you get a shirt. And the person who presented him his was former Trojan and Super Bowl MVP linebacker Malcolm Smith. So that was kind of cool. At practice on Thursday, Eric McKinney, he spotted Sierra Wright with his gold plate on his helmet. I believe Sierra got his earlier in the week as well. And then others who have been spotted with their gold plate, Caleb Williams, of course. He is the team's leader, and he knows what's necessary and what it means to wear that logo. He's not the only one, but what Caleb does, what we don't see him do off the field, he epitomizes what being a Trojan is all about. But again, others spotted besides Caleb and Rajon and Sierra, you've got Taj Washington, Mario Williams, Bryson Shaw. There's others, but it's hard to tell, especially if they're wearing their, I'll call them their Nerf helmet. It's like a red foam padding, but it literally looks like a caricature of a helmet. It looks like a Nerf helmet. It's hard to describe. At Colorado, Deion Sanders, he's making everyone earn their jersey number. Look, all I know is I would not want to be the last guy to be given a jersey number, because it goes from 0 to 99. And man, waiting to be number 99, especially if you don't play on the defensive line, probably not a number you want to wear. But as a Trojan, I want that gold plate presented to me yesterday. And of course, you want the same thing to happen if you're a Buffalo and you're trying to get your jersey number. But it's a little bit different because I think Deion is using a little bit of what Lincoln started at USC, and he's trying to stimulate the same type of energy at the program that he's taking over. So I understand it. I get it. It just seemed kind of obvious. Remember when I told you earlier in the week that on yesterday's episode of Locked On USC, I told you about how Damani Jackson left practice early on Tuesday with an illness. Well, I told you nothing to be worried about. He was actually back at practice, all padded up, ready to go. And Thursday after practice, he spoke with the media for the first time since he's been at USC. And you kind of just get the sense that he just wants to get on the field consistently and, just stay on the field. Because he's just been dealing with a bunch of nagging injuries since he's been at USC, and he even said he's still not 100% yet. He had that off-season knee surgery, so once Damani is capable of becoming and playing like everyone anticipates, things will be better. Right now, I think for Damani, he just needs to get that mindset going, and that's the frustrating part when you're a player and you're dealing with injuries. You know what you're capable of doing, but if your body doesn't let you do it, it can be frustrating. And as a former athlete, you try to do too much sometimes, and then you end up getting hurt. So he just needs to stay the course, stay patient, and good things will happen. Anthony Lucas, he also spoke after practice on Thursday. He mentioned that he's weighing 270 pounds right now, and that both he and Solomon Tuliaupupu are both working at defensive end and rush end. When I see Anthony Lucas, you can see he looks like a player. But I can't wait to see when he gets his body in better shape. I'm not saying he's out of shape, but you can tell that there's room to kind of tighten things up. I won't call it bad weight or sloppy weight. He just needs to tone things up. And Benny Wiley and the strength and conditioning staff, they'll get him there. His position coach Shaun Nua is going to get him there, and he's helping him work on his base, staying low, and that's going to help Anthony with his explosiveness. Anthony talked about after practice how he likes to, likes to get up straight too soon, and so they're working on technique, fundamentals that will help Lucas become a better player. Remember, he's going into his true sophomore season. And you can always tell when a player is impressed by a teammate. The first offensive line player that Lucas mentioned when he was asked about who stands out, Jonah Monheim, first name out of his mouth. So that's always my sign of, okay, I know who's giving somebody issues, problems, making him work hard at practice. Shaun Nua, when he spoke after practice on Thursday, he was really careful not to throw last season's D-line room under the bus, but you can definitely tell that he's excited about the group he has in 2023. And basically it comes down to sheer numbers. What I love about Coach Shaun is he's a straight shooter. You know what he means when he talks. He doesn't leave any ambiguity. And one thing he said is he will definitely take a big guy over a little guy in a fight anytime. Big people beat up little people. I think that was his quote from practice on Thursday. But he also wants his big guys to be quick. So, getting more size at USC in the trenches was a priority. They've gotten there. They brought in more size through the transfer portal and through recruiting. Now they want to make sure they're putting the whole package together. So they're working on quickness and not just power. As far as recruits, Dakota Fields, cornerback prospect from Sarah High, he was hanging out watching practice. That's the same school that produced Roderick Pleasant, who did not end up at USC. Christian Roland Wallace had a really impressive, I guess, Eric McKinney described it as a diving catch during a drill where the cornerbacks were mirroring the wide receivers. What makes that really neat is that earlier in the week, Lincoln Riley was highlighting Christian Roland Wallace, and it's kind of just funny how things happen. You highlight a player, and then all of a sudden, boom, they make a play. All right, so following practice, there was bunch of interviews, and you can head on over to wearesc.com. We'll have all those player and coaches interviews up there for you to kind of dissect on your own and see what you get out of it. But after, this practice on Thursday, the team has a scrimmage on Saturday, and then we will talk to Lincoln Riley afterwards on Zoom, and he'll give us an update. And then I'll do my best to kind of decipher and translate what he saw, so I can bring that to you on next week's episodes of Locked on USC. But right now, I need you to head on over to FanDuel, because the NBA playoffs, they're almost here. Not sure if the Lakers will make it, but it's the perfect time for you to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because as a new customer, you're going to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, super duper easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point scores. Who made the most three-pointers in the game? They have player prop bets, player points, rebounds, assists. Again, if you like to do who's going to have the most points at the end of the first quarter, FanDuel's the place for you. And they have other types of exclusive bets, like they call it the 2x3. 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes. You get to pick how that's going to happen. Plus, at FanDuel, they're even going to give you the opportunity to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets back when you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So the transfer portal is going to start seeing some names appear again when it opens. I believe you can start putting your name into it. I believe it's April 15th, so a week from this Saturday. Pardon me. And then starting on May 1st through May 15th, players can actually start changing zip codes. They can start heading off to their new location, to their greener grass. Look, I'm not a huge fan. In fact, I'm not a fan of it at all, of predicting who will and who won't jump into the transfer portal from USC. However, many feel there are people out there, and if there is a candidate, many feel that, maybe the offensive line room. The other room is possibly the running back room. And one name that constantly bubbles to the surface is Darwin Barlow. Darwin Barlow is now a redshirt senior. When he got here in 2021, he arrived with Keontae Ingram. And then he stayed patient. He was a redshirt sophomore back then. He stayed patient while Ingram and Vavae Malapai, they ended up getting the lion's share of the reps that season. And then last year, Darwin Barlow, year more mature, he's ready to maybe assume the role of the lead back. We know Ray Leak Brown came over as a recruit, but USC went into the transfer portal and they yanked out a Travis Dye and an Austin Jones. Both of those guys showed why Lincoln Riley wanted them, because they were really valuable assets on the team last year. But Darwin kept competing. And this year, he said, competition just brings that dog out of you. And I feel like I was built for it, built to compete. It's going to help me grow throughout the spring, and I'm thankful for it, and I wouldn't want it any other way. He continued, just keep showing up every day. When I show up, make sure I bring what I need to bring. Showing the coaches that they can trust me, that I got this on the field, that when they put me in, I'm going to produce every time. Just keep competing. And then he went on. The coaches told us this quote earlier this week: opportunity waits for nobody. When that opportunity comes, you just got to make the most of it. Make sure I take advantage of it when it comes. I'm just thankful to be in this position, thankful to be around these coaches. I know when I do get the opportunity, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make the most of it for sure. I don't know about you, and I could be reading it wrong. Darwin doesn't sound like anybody who's ready to jump into the transfer portal. Kiel McDonald, his position coach, talked about Barlow's leadership in the in his room, and the steps that he's taken, specifically his pass blocking, which was an area that Barlow himself has been emphasizing this spring. Darwin talked about it. He talked about that when he said, fulfilling my role in pass protection, showing them that I can block, that I got more elements to my game than just running the ball. I feel like I've grown a lot, and I've shown them a lot this spring. So if that's the case, I think I mentioned Lincoln Riley highlighted Darwin and Christian Pierce, the freshman safety who met in the hole. And one of the things that Lincoln highlighted was, Darwin's no small dude. And if that's the case, I anticipate seeing a little bit more of Darwin this fall. I guess we'll have a good idea in the spring game, which is, like I said, a week away from this Saturday. So the thing that Darwin talked about is how the staff is really helping him improve his mentality and change his mindset. And he talked about how they're doing it in a whole different way. So again, to me, that doesn't sound like a guy who intends to transfer. Austin Jones, Marshawn Lloyd, they're getting all the headlines, this spring. But I think Barlow is going to be the guy who surprises in 2023. Maybe I'm hoping for it, just because I'm a fan of his. But there's a couple of freshmen behind him, and not just Darwin, but behind Austin Jones and Marshawn Lloyd as well. But those guys aren't ready to jump ahead of the three upperclassmen. Definitely not on the depth chart. So if Darwin's talking about pass protection and the playbook and having the right mindset, look, maybe the freshmen are at a more advanced stage. Doubtful, but you got to have that right mindset to want to be to pass protect, because you might be 6 foot, 6'1", 200, 220 pounds, but defensive linemen and linebackers are bigger than you, and they've got a head of steam when they reach that, when they get past the offensive lineman. You're usually not in the best of positions to absorb that kind of mass coming at you. As Shaun Nua said, he'll take big over little every day of the week. So again, I'm rooting for Darwin. I think he's got the right mindset. He understood what it took last year playing behind Austin Jones and Travis Dye, and now he's competing with Austin Jones and Marshawn Lloyd, as well, and Rayleigh Brown, as well as the two freshmen. I'm not bringing up Rayleigh's name as much because I think they're going to be using him in a different role this season. So I'm talking about it strictly from a running back perspective, tailback perspective. And I understand that having a returning Heisman winner at quarterback in a loaded wide receiver room is really tantalizing for Lincoln Riley. But let's not forget, USC is still tailback U. And I would love to see any one of the tailbacks jump out and become a 1,000-yard rusher. Would love it even more if they became a 15-yard rusher. Because then I know that not only is USC's offense having a really good season, the offensive line is probably been settled as well. All right. We're going to get out of here this week. Locked on USC. but every time you watch a Locked on USC episode on Friday, I try to have some sort of little rant, something just to kind of ramble on about that's bugging me, or maybe it's not bugging me, but I just want to kind of talk some smack. I think I'm more in the smack talk mode this Friday. Look, as a fan, I kind of feel like Moses wandering the desert without a home. I know where the promised land is. USC is going to get there next year in 2024, but USC is in the Pac-12 conference this season, and it just kind of feels like no man's land for USC, because all the talk so far this offseason, initially it was about, USC and UCLA, they're leaving the Pac-12 high and dry. So, but now obviously USC and UCLA, they're moving on. That's not going to change. But all that talk is now shifted to the Pac-12 conference's media deal, or the lack thereof. And which teams should be replacing USC and their house dog UCLA? My rant is there's not enough USC talk right now. At least when I'm not talking about them. I need to hear USC on a national level, national narrative. I want to hear it from Locked On Pac-12. I need to hear about USC at least 3 days a week. Locked On Big Ten. Start talking about your new brethren who are showing up. And it doesn't hurt to have, the national airwaves talking about USC as often as possible. So, like I said, I get it, I understand it, but I'm just being a little greedy, and it's hard to describe. I don't know. Kicking the Pac-12 fans while they're down seems like overkill, although there is some entertainment value in it. Watching certain fan bases run in circles, trying to figure out what's happening. How much money will their team be able to work with to compete against USC and UCLA, who are moving over the big. And because it's that weird time, like I said, I can every now and then have some fun at the expense of Oregon or Cal or Stanford or the Arizona schools, Colorado. I'll leave Oregon State alone just because. Washington State, I'll leave you guys alone just because. But being that loud, obnoxious new neighbor and kind of getting myself acquainted with the guys over there in the Big Ten, in the big conference, that just doesn't feel like the way to go until the moving trucks are kind of fully unloaded and USC is an official member of the big conference. They're not there yet. And so right now, there's reports that the Pac-12's media deal is going to be delayed until later this summer, which means it's getting dragged out, which means, everyone's going to want to be talking about that more. They're going to want to talk about USC. So until, USC, until the football season starts, I really don't want to talk about filling up Galen Center artificially. I do, but I don't. I'm going to wait until after that commitment is made. Only because I don't want to get a message from somebody saying, Mark, dial it back. Let me just say this. Galen Center does not need to fill itself artificially because there's a celebrity or two in the stands. I'll leave it there. If you want people to take USC basketball seriously, it shouldn't be because USC is recruiting somebody who has a famous father. USC's been down that road before. Didn't work out well. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up this episode of Locked on USC because, again, I'm about to I don't want to say something I don't want to say. But I do want to say thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Without you, I'm not here, and I really do appreciate you guys being here. I'll be back again next week with another five episodes of Locked On USC. When you're not here, head on over to wearesc.com. Oh, by the way, you might get some recruiting information. I anticipate USC having another commitment by the end of Workday Friday. We've talked about this earlier in the week, but it's going to be a defensive player. Go check it out. So, until I'm back with another episode, everyone, enjoy your weekend, and you know what to do.